No introduction for me.
You're awesome. You're awesome.
So welcome back, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the day. So, have you guys gotten a lot out of it? Yeah? The finance stuff that's a hard one for everybody. But I got a lot out of it as well. There's always something to learn from the mindset, and that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight, to the finance, to the actual procedures of everything that you're doing. And what I'm going to share tonight with you guys is my journey of stepping into entrepreneurship. Something that I always wanted to do so I could travel and make a difference. And how that has changed me and transformed me. And how an Amazon package that showed up one day changed my life. Have you guys ever had a moment that changed everything? Like something shifted inside of you and you knew everything was going to be different after that? Well, that's what happened to me. And I want you to listen from a different perspective of like what would be possible if you started stepping into all of your fears as an entrepreneur and gave up all those old stories in your head. All of those things that have been bugging you and keeping you locked down in your life of like, oh, what are they going to think about me? I might lose all my money. I might, whatever it is. Just think what would be possible if you stepped into the fear and did something different for yourself. Because I've learned the hard way and sometimes the easy way that on the other side of fear is an opportunity. And when you ask for something from the universe or God, it usually shows up and then, I don't want to do that. But on the other side, I've learned is the exact thing that you're looking for. So if you can become present to that, magic and miracles just start showing up in your life. And that's what I've learned. So my intention tonight is to leave with you guys with inspiration. So when you're back at your home and you're sitting behind the computer and things aren't working, you'll have something to grasp onto and say, okay, what do I need to learn today? What sphere do I need to step into? What can I make an opportunity? Who can I make a difference for in my life that this is going to be worth it? Because I've met millionaires that have all the money and they're very unhappy people. And I've met millionaires that are super happy and super generous. And I'd much rather be poor and happy than a millionaire and mad. So my story starts off with me living in Portland, Oregon. I'm originally from St. Louis. But when I was in Portland, I was walking my dog one day. And I saw this guy pushing a bicycle. But he had a bunch of boxes under his arms. And I didn't think anything of it, but they had Amazon tape around them. And so it sparked my memory. I got my package today. My little rubber chickens are in the mail. And I hurried back up to the house, and I got there. And then I looked on the front porch, and my package wasn't there. And I double-checked my phone. It was literally just dropped off. And I double-checked inside. It's not inside. And then it hit me. The guy that was walking down the street with all these packages was not the UPS or FedEx guy. And he had stolen my package, and I had just walked past him. And so my adrenaline started pumping, and I'm like, I gotta go chase this guy down. I have to go get my package back. And why would anybody chase anybody down for a 1-inch little rubber chicken? Had to mean something, and it meant something to me. But I mustered up the courage, and I grabbed my attack-licking dog, just in case. She wasn't going to do anything, but it made me feel better. And so I chased this guy down. But before I finish this story, I want to share what happened up until that moment and all the stories and journeys I went on as an entrepreneur and went from someone who wasn't confident in myself, I didn't believe in myself, and I definitely wasn't that happy. And I covered it up with being funny and nice. But on the inside, I wasn't. So I was living in Austin, Texas. I had moved there. I was working in the corporate world, and I was a systems administrator. I was making really good money. I had bought a really nice home. It was custom built. Had a BMW. I had all the stuff you're supposed to have. The one big thing I miss is a recliner and a hot tub. Those are the two nice things. But I had all of this stuff. And then one day I looked down upon it all, and I just was like, none of this is making me happy. I feel alone. I didn't feel confident. And I had seen this documentary called The Happy Movie. And it goes into the science of happiness and what really makes people happy on the inside. And after I watched that, I reached out to a life coach. And we had a 2-hour conversation over coffee. And that was one of the first people along my journey that made a big difference for me. She told me the truth of who I was. And she looked me in the eyes at the end and she says, "You're not confident. You're buying all your confidence with a big paycheck and you're trying to impress people." And I was like, ugh, that sucks. And it was the first time someone actually told me who I was in the world, like for them. And after that moment, I realized what I need to work on. I need to work on my confidence. And I had always wanted to go out and be an entrepreneur. I had always wanted to go out and make a difference in the world and travel and see the world. And so that brought me to the moment of, okay, I'm making a commitment. And I said, I'm doing it. I'm leaving work in 3 months. And the universe aligned with an opportunity. And I was walking my dog that morning. I said, well, how can I make this all happen really fast? And just the first thought to my head was like, well, maybe if I get fired. I walk into work that morning, and that's what happened. I got laid off. And I was excited and scared at the same time. But I left there, and I started doing what I loved to do at the time, and I still do, photography and videography, and I was a nerd. And I got my first big gig in Guatemala doing an international photo shoot, and I built a yoga site, and it was a really cool opportunity. And it was all because I started stepping into my fears and doing something that I really wanted to do. And then after that moment, I went back to Austin, Texas, and it was about Christmas time. And I went back home to St. Louis to visit my mom and my family. And my dad had passed away about 20 years before that. And my mom's house had fallen apart. And I looked at my life, and I said, I'm not happy in Austin. And if I leave my mom's house like this, I would regret it. So I said, screw it. I'm moving back home, and I lived with my mom for about 9 months. And I completely rehabbed her basement and rehabbed her upstairs house, fixed things up, and just gave her a really nice 70th birthday present. And during that time, I found life coaching as a business. And so I went out and got my certification. And that started me on the journey of like really discovering what's it take to help people. And after that moment, I went out and I was like, okay, what do you do next as a coach? Well, you're supposed to write a book. So I wrote a book on 100 days. And then what are you supposed to do after that? You're supposed to start speaking. So I got a speaking gig in Ecuador with a bunch of other speakers. And we went on this incredible journey. And we brought clean water filters down to the Amazon rainforest. And we got to speak at a university down there. And then we brought clean water filters to a tribe or a community, they weren't a tribe, in the Andes Mountains. And it was an incredible journey. If you ever get a chance to go, it's amazing.
What about the dude sold you chicken? He's not there yet.
And so one of the men that was with us was a shaman. And he carried around with him a big giant rubber chicken because his totem animal in shamanism was a chicken. And it looked exactly like Charlie, like this right here. And he just carried around and he inspired and empowered people to step into their fears and believe in themselves and to quit being chickens in their life and go after what they really believe and what they think is important for them. And then he would hand people a little tiny rubber chicken as like a little token. And just as a reminder when in your life, like if you have a fear and you see that little chicken, maybe today's the day you have that conversation. Maybe today's the day that you actually do that thing that you've been afraid to do. And so he left me feeling inspired about who I could be in the world. And then I started doing, continuing the coaching and doing some more speaking and stuff like that. And I had eventually moved up to Portland, Oregon. And through my entrepreneurial journey, I have learned 3 powerful words: commitment, courage, and confidence. And when I redid my mom's house, I learned what it meant to step inside of commitment until something was finished, until I got the result that I really wanted. And I had to step up my leadership. I had to wrangle my brothers to help out all the time. I had to hire contractors, and I had never done a lot of this stuff. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos to get things done, and really, like stepped inside of like, okay, it's not done yet. I have to do this thing. I can't do this thing. I can't be distracted. I got to finish. I kind of like Rudy this morning, like just relentless in doing one thing after another inside of it. And so I really learned what it took to be committed to something until it was done, because I was kind of done with quitting things. And so the next C word after that, I want to share one really incredible story that happened in Ecuador. I got what it meant to be committed to something and quitting right before you finish. So we were in Ecuador, and we were in the Andes Mountains. And the community there said, come on out, and bring the water filters. And then we're going to do a ceremony thanking you guys. It was about 2 hours away from the city of Cuenca. And we'll do the ceremony at our sacred water grounds, which was a giant raging river at the bottom of a mountain. But for them, they called it a hill. And we had 20, 30 people with us. And there's all different levels of people, ages, ranges, everything. And they expected us to only take a half an hour to get down. Ended up taking about 2 hours, going switchbacks. And then down there, we did the ceremony, everything was great, but it was getting dark. And so what really ended up happening was we came back up, and it took 2 or 3 more hours in the dark. The little girls in the community had to go get buckets of water so we could filter water to save some of the people that were on our trip. And during that time, I had broken off with a woman where we had like, okay, everybody else is going their own way. We're going to figure this out. And it was dark. And I didn't know where we were at, except I was in another country, and I didn't know anybody, and I didn't know Spanish. And I had looked around, and I had searched everywhere, and I was lost. But I knew I was close to the finish line. But I'm a guy, and I don't like to ask for help. But I had nowhere else to turn. And so in that moment, I had to ask for help. So I go up to kind of the edge of the mountain, and I only know one word in Spanish that I could remember in the moment, hola. And I'm screaming, hola, hola. I don't know anything else. But they heard the desperation in my voice, and the community there's a bunch of strangers there today. And the one guy comes back out, and he helps me. And it was only about 10 to 30 yards from where we started. But I felt completely lost. And in that moment, I realized this is just like the entrepreneurial journey. Like, there's those moments where you want to quit up and give up and shut the door, slam the computer, and say, I'm starting something new. Those are the moments where, stop for a moment and then reach out. Call your coach, call your mentor, get help, but don't quit. And so that's what I really learned about commitment in that moment. Now, I learned about courage while I was in Portland. And this one was a tough one for me to understand, that I wasn't always right. And sometimes I was an idiot. And I had moved up there, and I was living with a roommate, and she had labeled herself an introvert. And I realize now that I was arrogant, and I thought I knew what an introvert was. Oh, they're quiet, they don't talk much, and they don't get out much, and I was really wrong about that. And every time I would pass her in the house, she wouldn't say hi, and I was raised in a family where we're very happy, and like everybody says hi to each other, and good morning, but I would wake up and say hi, and she would just walk past me. And in my internal dialogue, I was like, what's wrong with her? Something's not right. She needs to get friends, or she needs to become more friendly, or something like that. And this went on for months. And I had my business coach that was coaching me. And I had talked to her, and I was sharing her a story with my niece. And I said, my niece is like, she's afraid of spiders. I don't know what's wrong with her. There's something, and my coach yelled at me. She goes, stop making your niece wrong for being herself. And it was like something got through, and like someone punched me in the ego and started to shatter, the arrogance inside of me. And a few weeks later after that moment, I started really seeing things like, wow, I've been making everybody wrong for being themselves. Oh, God, I've been kind of an a-hole. And in that moment, a few days later, I walked downstairs, and something happened, and something came through me, and I just realized, like, wow, I have no experience except for my own experience in life. I have no clue what it's like to be anybody else but myself. And then I took a step, like it really blew me back that I'd been making her wrong this whole time, and I'd been making so many other people wrong. I had made a whole city wrong for moving. St. Louis wasn't right. They're, not progressive enough or whatever, and I'd moved for the wrong reasons. And so I walked into her living room where she was, and I said, can I talk to you for a minute? And I want to share something. And in that moment, I just, mustered up the courage to say, hey, I've been beating you up in your head and making you wrong and not accepting you for who you are. And shared with her what I was thinking about her and really just owned up to it. And she opened up to me, and that vulnerability right there shared a space where she shared a really vulnerable story. In that house that she was in, she was raped and molested by her brother. And that her parents didn't raise her, was very, not the greatest upbringing. And as a kid, the way she learned to survive was to go inside of her head and be in imagination land. And that's just the way she was. And there was nothing wrong with her. She was perfect, whole, and complete. But when she went out in the world and she was networking, you couldn't tell her from, you'd just think she's an incredible, awesome entrepreneur. But as soon as you closed the door and she walked in, she went straight back to her normal way of being. And I happened to live there. And what I got in that story was, wow, like, there's so much power in like only knowing my experience. Now I can really get to know people from a place of curiosity and not judge them for like what they look like or what they're wearing or where they live, and like really just be with a person. And then I was like, wow, that's like kind of like getting to know a customer and not presuming that I know everything about them. And then just asking questions and being curious. And all of my coaches in my experience in entrepreneurship have all said the same thing. Get to know your customers like you don't really know them. They'll tell you what they want, and then just give it to them. And I was like, wow, it makes it so much easier. I don't really have to guess. I can just ask and then serve them. And so my last big story was about stepping into my own confidence. And all of these moments have kind of helped me discover like where natural confidence comes from. Because just a few years ago, I would never imagine I'm in Vegas speaking. Like, I was behind a desk and in a job that I'd kind of come to not like as much. And what I learned about natural confidence, and so you guys can take this away, if you want to write this down, STRONG, vertically. And James talked about this a little bit this morning, of like really keeping those things in your life, that you're proud of. So the S and T stand for strengths and triumphs, the things you're proud of, your skills that you know you're good at, and the things that you've overcome. Write those down and keep them in your life. Yeah, STRONG, strong. And what I've learned is that we forget so easily all the things that we've done and all the things that we've overcome. And when we can keep those present in our life, and when that adversity comes up and we can remember, oh, I did something like that before, or I've overcome something like that, it gives you more fuel. Because something's going to happen in your journey. Someone's going to say something, or someone's going to do something, or you're going to think something, and you're going to want to go back. But if you can keep these things present in your life, it makes it so much easier.
Could you go through what they are again?
Yeah, so strengths and triumphs. So, and the R was a big one for me. Releasing regrets and shames in my life. Things that I wasn't proud of, things that I had done in my past that really, like when I talked to someone, the conversation in my head was, I can't say that because that might lead to this conversation and then they'll know I'm a big idiot. Or they'll know I'm a failure. Or they'll know I'm this or that. But what I learned was once I released all of that and really forgave myself, then it opened up the whole door. It just opened that up. And I was able to just be with myself and realize that Les Brown has a quote that says, if you wouldn't do that thing again, you're convicting an innocent person. So if you've learned your lesson, you're done. Quit beating yourself up. So the O in there stands for observe yourself. This one was huge. I had a coach share with me, if you can't tell, I've had a lot of coaches, share with me a huge breakthrough in her life. That she was beating herself up internally about her own body. And I was a husky kid, I was overweight, and I had been made fun of at some point for my weight, and it was only like one moment or something like that. But ever since then, in my own body image, I had every time I saw myself, I would beat myself up, and I wasn't proud of it, and that would portray it as my own confidence when I was out in the real world. And I would try to mask that with money or cars or the house or whatever. This exercise helped get rid of a lot of that. And what I ended up doing and what she shared with me, she said, sounds weird, get a mirror, don't do this in public. Get naked and look and observe yourself until you can accept who you are. Because really, you're not your body. You're the spirit inside of you. You're that person that gives back. And when I did this and I kept doing this, I started hearing less and less dialogue inside of me that was beating myself up. And that gave me more and more confidence to do whatever I really wanted.
What about this dude wrapping up?
The last two? So the N stands for when you're nervous, go into service. A speaker coach shared with me, when I'm up here or out in life, if I ever get nervous about something, that generally means I'm focusing on myself. And instead of making a difference for other people. It doesn't have to just apply to speaking. It can apply whatever you're doing. So if there's something you're nervous about, if it's a conversation or whatever, focus on the other person and see how you can make a difference for them. And all of that dissipates and you're focused on them. And the G stands for be yourself. Look at Lady Gaga. Look at some of the biggest celebrities. They let their just pure uniqueness come out and be themselves. And what I got from that was I could wear a t-shirt that says you're awesome. And people started liking it. And people started accepting it. And I was like, oh, I can just be myself. I don't have to fake it anymore. I can just be who I really am. And so all of this led up to a big moment in my life. And all of this was because I stepped into being an entrepreneur and wanting to make a difference in the world. So you guys are going to be selling your services, but things are going to come up. And it's a journey and it's a process and a discovery of who you're going to be. And so I had moved to Chicago, and I was out running one morning, and I was asking myself, who am I? Who am I? And something just came through me and blurted out of my lips, I'm a speaker. And then it was the weirdest thing. I just burst into tears, and I started crying. And I was like, what in the world? Why am I crying? This is weird. And what I had realized was that it was the first time I had told the truth to myself about myself, of who I really wanted to be and what I really wanted to do. And it was finally out. When I was a kid, I thought I was going to be a priest. But then I learned about the logistics, and you can't get married, and I kind of like women, so that really wasn't going to work. So I've been on that track ever since, and things have been unfolding, and every time I step into a fear, another opportunity shows up. You know, when this speaking gig came up, Sherry asked me, would you like to MC? And I was like, oh, burr, 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 burr. And I felt all the fear come up in me. And because I've practiced this, I was like, well, can we talk about this later? And then, you know, it led to me MCing because I stepped into it. And now other opportunities will happen from here. So I really want you guys to get is that whatever you're up to creating in your businesses, there's always going to be something on the other side. So whatever that thing is that you're most scared of, I really just step into it. See what happens. You know, don't jump into a shark's mouth. I don't recommend that. And so I want to finish and close out with, you know, me chasing this guy down. So there I am, my adrenaline's pumping, and I'm like, I got to chase this guy down. He stole my Amazon package. And so I'm chasing him down, my dog by my side, and I confront him. And I say, hey, I think you got my package. And he says, no, I don't. And I'm like, I think you do. And then I looked, and it had my name on it, so I grabbed it. And it was supposed to be about 100 of these little rubber chickens, but there was only one. And one of the points I want to share is that I did this because the guy who had given me this rubber chicken, about a year after I met him, was killed in a terrorist attack. And I decided to dedicate the rest of my life to empowering others to step into their fears because he made a big difference for me. And this guy who had stolen the package had stolen my gift to the world. And that's how much it meant to me. And so I opened this package up. There's supposed to be 100, but there's only one. And I'm like instantly kind of ticked off. And I'm like, the Amazon reseller just ripped me off. So don't be that guy. And then I took the chicken out, and I looked at the guy, and I said, what's going on in your life? Like, why are you stealing random packages from people's porches? And it was in that moment, like, he could tell I was listening to him. Like, he just wasn't another bum on the street. He was an actual human. And he opened up, and he said 4 people had died in his life that year, and he was strung out on drugs, his mom was strung out on drugs, and that his girlfriend was strung out on drugs, and that they all gone homeless, and the only thing they knew to get by was to steal. And it was easy, and it didn't really hurt anybody. And so in that moment, I really learned, you know, when I listen to people and I stop listening to all the chatter in my head, and I just focus on them for a while, I can make a difference. And all I have to do is shut up. And so I sat there for a while and talked to him, did whatever I could in the moment, and I said, you know, here's my business card. Call me anytime. And then I gave him the last $6 that I had in my wallet. And that was the day that I realized that I can be confident and that I am. And that's what I want to give back to you guys. I want you guys all to have a little tiny rubber chicken yourself. And I'm going to be getting these out in a second. Because as you step into your journey, there's going to be these moments. And I want you to have this. When you look at it, okay, today's the day I deal with my finances. Today's the day I order more of that product because it's starting to work and it's starting to make a difference. Because you're all up to something awesome. Because I think you're awesome. And you're probably not doing this business to sell products. You're probably doing this business to be with your families more, to go travel, or to make a difference in some community or something that is really important to you. And this is the road, you know, the pathway for you to get there. So thank you guys very much. And now you can have your rubber chickens.
Thank you for sharing your story. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can? Yeah. There you go.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Goes on my computer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She want one?
Thank you. Oh, okay.
Needs more. Thank you, Brad. Chicken. Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Did you guys get one? Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, one last thing. You guys can follow me on Instagram, the Rubber Chicken Guy, and follow my journey. I've had people step into their fears and share their stories of like what it really took for them to get over something. I had a woman who shared that she wanted to get back in dating again as a single mom with a couple kids. She didn't feel good about herself. And so she took my little challenge of stepping into her fears and she shared it on social media. She's like, if I'm going to do this, I want to date one of the Property Brothers. And so she shared it and then she tagged them in it. And then their whole community like surrounded her in love and said, sure. And so what happened was they surrounded her and then her daughter won an Instagram contest. And then that got her a private Skype conversation with the two brothers. And so she got on this phone call and she asked them out. She got turned down because they weren't single. But she got a private invitation to a private party up in Toronto and she flew up there and had a blast. I had a guy that put this on his desk and he'd been trying to get his job, this job he'd never had before. And he just kept stepping into his fears and stepping into him and stepping into him. And he kept blogging about this job he wanted. And he finally got his dream job a year later. And there's always something on the other side of fear. So whatever it is for you guys, go do it. Thank you.
My fear was, I grew up.